My goal in life is to find that, to be present like that in life. It's hard.
Today, I'm going to share an important event from my life that had a large impact on me. Hopefully, as I recount this story, you can get something from it too. Let me provide some context before I get into the finer details. Almost 3 years ago, in the summer between my sophomore and junior year, I embarked on a week-long service trip with my school. At this time, I was 16 and had no clue who I was. While 2018 had actually been a very good year for me, there were still some areas where I had been lacking. I've talked a little about this in other videos, but I struggled to talk to people in my school. Also, something I haven't mentioned is that I went to an all-boys high school. At this time, I hadn't interacted with a girl in 2 years. All of these factors contributed to my growing social anxiety. The only problem was I barely understood social anxiety. This trip was filled with ups, downs, and a few surprises. Looking back now, all the low points were worth it because I have learned so much from reflecting. With that said, let's get started. Within this story, there are 3 groups of important people: the classmates I went with on the trip, kids from other schools, and the adults. I want to cover each one individually because they all affected me in different ways. First, my fellow classmates. In total, we were a group of 6, all from the same class year. As I said, I didn't really talk to many people, and I wasn't initially friendly with anyone else coming. I remember awkwardly standing with my bags before we got in the van, not saying much while everyone else was talking. I wanted to interact with them, but didn't know what to say. Of course, social anxiety just made it worse. My head started telling me that they think I'm weird and unapproachable. However, I quickly realized that the thoughts in my mind were just that, thoughts, not the truth. Everyone I went with turned out to be super laid back and kind. The detail I would like to highlight though is how they treated me like a normal person. You might think there is no importance to that, but for me it was. It directly countered the negative thoughts in my head. I assumed that they perceived me as weird, yet in real life they treated me like any other human being. I didn't fully realize this at that moment, but today, after reflecting, I can see how social anxiety can lead us down a path of lies that only brings us harm. The friendliness of my classmates was also seen in all the other kids from various schools, especially those in my work group. While I didn't make any lifelong friends, talking and interacting with my group as we completed tasks made the trip a lot more enjoyable. However, there was one area where social anxiety completely beat me, and that was with girls. Simply put, I was just too scared to talk to any girls. The thought of even having a conversation crippled me. I went out of my way to avoid any interaction with the girls from other schools, and people noticed, but I will touch on that in a bit. The final group I want to bring up are the adults who also came along. Specifically, my group leader, a woman named Joanne. A regular on this trip, she had been coming with her parish for many years, so with that came a lot of experience. She radiated grandma energy and had an amazing personality. Also, Joanne was definitely not afraid to say what was on her mind, a quality that would have a special effect on me. On the final day of our trip, we had group affirmations, where we went around and said positive qualities about each group member. Joanne took a slightly different approach. While she said some really heartwarming things about me, she finished with a line I'll never forget. "You just don't know how to play yet." Basically, it was another way of saying I don't know how to flirt, which was true. Clearly, she noticed how I was avoiding girls, and I am so grateful that she wasn't afraid to playfully call me out. While the entire quote is memorable, the ending always sticks out for me. Yet, not only did Joanne give me a wake-up call, but she injected confidence into me, implying that this will happen, just maybe not today. I truly will always remember her impact on me, as well as all the other kind people on the trip. While the previous aspect of the trip I talked about was mostly positive, This section, unfortunately, will be primarily negative. Along with this trip came many group activities that we would do to bond and express ourselves. One in particular proved to be my worst nightmare. It was called dinnertainment. Let me explain how it worked. Every evening, all the groups and adults gathered for dinner, and as you might guess, along with dinner came entertainment. Every group was tasked with coming up with a daily sketch to present in front of everyone. It either had to be a comedical piece or singing. I cannot describe the amount of dread that this event put on me 24/7. The moment I woke up every morning, I remembered that I had to do it. The minute we finished our sketch, I was dreading the one tomorrow. It was a combination of all my weaknesses, and my social anxiety only made it worse. Expressing myself to others, presenting in front of a crowd I didn't know, seeing how great some other sketches were. When I had to do my part, it felt like everyone was judging me, critiquing my every move. Looking back, I know this isn't true, but I couldn't escape that thought during the entire week. All of this stress and worry spread into the choices I made throughout the rest of the trip. By the end, it had taken a toll on me. I didn't want to talk to people, and I didn't even consider pushing myself out of my comfort zone. All I wanted to do was get out. I felt trapped, like I was doomed to this state forever, and there was nobody I could go to for advice. My only goal was to just survive the week. I guess the one positive from the situation was that I did in fact survive. Thinking about this part of the trip now, I do see a valuable lesson. My suffering due to dinnertainment showed me that there are issues I am not working on, and if I ever wanted to lessen or eliminate that stress, I was going to have to put in the effort to fix myself. I want to go into more detail about my reflections on the trip, and there are two phases to consider. The first closely followed the end of the trip. The second phase is looking at these events 3 years later. Once the trip finally ended, I felt a wave of relief wash over me. I enjoyed a great feeling of accomplishment, not only for all the work I had done, but for the stress that I had endured. I gained experience and had new situations and moments to reflect on and learn from, and I was grateful for that. Additionally, I experienced this overall positive wave in the weeks following the trip. It was almost like a reward for getting through the hard times. In my thoughts, I came to several conclusions. 1. Almost every bad situation or negative thought that occurred in my head was untrue or never happened. All those times I thought people were judging me during dinnertainment, they weren't. When I thought people perceived me as weird, it wasn't true. My social anxiety had controlled me, preventing me from making the most out of my time there. Unfortunately, I didn't understand social anxiety like I do today, and so I wasn't able to fully comprehend the lesson in front of me. As a result, this trip did not propel me to change. Honestly, once school started again, I just fell back into a state of complacency. However, today I have some new insights that have helped me understand what I need to do to improve. During that week, when my anxiety levels were high, I thought that this was a sign of weakness, like I was incapable of interacting with people or expressing myself. I basically saw it as a stop signal. I gave up, believing there was no hope to get anything out of the situation. Today, I see this scenario completely flipped. If I have social anxiety now, I see it as an opportunity to grow and prove to myself that I can do what is making me anxious. I don't blame myself for not seeing this 3 years ago, because without that experience, I might not have this understanding today. My one piece of advice for you is this: do not let social anxiety make you run away from chances to beat it. It might plague you for a while, but you will one day be able to see social anxiety from a positive perspective. Once you do, put in the effort to improve. That is where I am right now. And although I still feel it all the same, I know that I am capable of making the most out of my chances, and you are too. Before you go, I want to ask something of you for your own benefit. If you haven't before, spend some time doing what I did in this video. Consider an important moment or period of time in your life. Reflect on the highs and lows, how you felt during and after. What did you learn from this moment right after it was over? Have you learned anything new from reflecting on it now? If you're open to share, I'd be interested to see what you find. Also, expect more of this style of video in the future. I have more stories to share, and I think they have something to offer for you. Finally, I just wanted to say thank you for the support and engagement with the content I am putting out. It really does make me happy to see people relate and interact with what I have to say. And I appreciate every single time you like a video and leave a comment. With that said, this has been Dark Horse, and I will see you in the next video.